The objective of this presentation is to sensitize students to the issues explored in this poem so that they may be able to effectively write an essay that requires their knowledge and understanding of this poem, A Far Away from Africa.
A wind is ruffling the tawny pelt of Africa. Kikuyu, quick as flies, batten upon the bloodstreams of the veldt. Corpses are scattered through a paradise. Only the worm, kernel of carrion, cries, waste no compassion on these separate dead. Statistics justify and scholars seize the salience of colonial policy. What is that to the white child hacked in bed? To savages, expendable as Jews? Threshed out by beaters, the long rushes break in a white dust of ibises whose cries have wheeled since civilization's dawn from the parched river or beast-teeming plain. The violence of beast on beast is read as natural law, but upright man seeks his divinity by inflicting pain. Delirious as these worried beasts, his wars dance to the tightened carcass of a drum, while he calls courage still that native dread of the white peace contracted by the dead. Again brutish necessity wipes its hands upon the napkin of a dirty cause, again a waste of our compassion, as with Spain, the guerrilla wrestles with the Superman. I who am poisoned with the blood of both, where shall I turn, divided to the vein? I who have cursed the drunken officer of British rule, how choose between this Africa and the English tongue I love? Betray them both, or give back what they give? How can I face such slaughter and be cool? How can I turn from Africa and live?
The title of Our Cry from Africa is used literally as well as metaphorically. Literally, the title denotes that there is a wide or vast distance between where the speaker is at currently and Africa. These two territories are geographically far from each other. Metaphorically, the title suggests that the cultures, lifestyle, or mannerism of these two regions or territories are different. There seems to be no meeting ground or common ground. Thus, the title implies that the events are far removed from what you would expect in Africa. Do you agree with this interpretation? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. In this stanza, Derek Walcott paints a gruesome picture of African invasion or colonization. He does this through the use of visual and auditory images, such as battened upon the blood streams, corpse, cries, separate dead, savages. It is apparent that Walcott does not condone killing of any sort. Therefore, he questions the validity of war. What is that to a white child hacked in bed? The statement, waste no compassion on these separate dead, confirms that there seems to be a clear distinction between the whites and the blacks. The blacks, the Africans, are viewed as dispensable. Thus, they are considered savages, expendable as Jews. Here, Walcott alludes to the Jewish Holocaust.
The actions of the British Empire are numerous and complex, lasting hundreds of years and subjugating millions of lives. As the days of the British Empire were coming to an end, there were those in power still clinging to the glory days. This can perhaps be seen in the Mau Mau uprising in Kenya, a prolonged and violent resistance to British rule by the Kenya Land and Freedom Army was met in turn with extreme methods to subdue, including torture, mass imprisonment, and mutilation.
In the second stanza, Walcott points out ironically that civilization originated from savagery in the form of repeated slaughter due to colonization. Although history paints the whites as heroes who brought civilization to mankind, Walcott regards them as beasts. The same animalistic nature that they associated with Africa and Africans is now conferred on them as well. Hence the expression, the violence of beast on beast is read. Walcott implies that history has been distorted and that the upright man seeks his divinity by inflicting pain. This may suggest that the whites seek to justify their cruelty by implying that they are pure beings who are acting in the best interests of humanity and offer white peace. Consequently, Africans had to surrender or submit to these whites, whose peace resulted in much bloodshed and death.
7,000 Mau Mau and 32 British settlers were killed. But some historians say the number of Mau Mau who lost their lives may be much higher. Then the British set up detention camps. Historians initially said 80,000 Kikuyu were detained, but recent studies suggest that the number may be as high as 160,000 to 320,000. The British branded them as rehabilitation camps that encouraged good citizenship and re-educated the Mau Mau away from their nationalist views. However, secret documents which were unearthed 50 years later in 2011 after 4 elderly Kenyans sued Britain's Foreign and Commonwealth Office tell a different story. The documents confirm the detainees were isolated, tortured, raped, forced to work, and sometimes murdered. Villages made up of Kikuyu women and children were also enclosed and heavily patrolled. This led to disease and starvation. Despite Britain's campaign, the Mau Mau movement spearheaded Kenya's independence movement. Jomo Kenyatta, a Mau Mau leader who had been imprisoned in 1953, eventually became the Prime Minister of an independent Kenya in 1963. In 2013, the British government finally reached an agreement with lawyers acting for the victims. The country finally acknowledged the torture and abuse that took place and promised to pay $31 million to the victims. 5,228 living victims received just under $4,650 each. Britain still does not accept that it is legally liable for its actions under the colonial administration.
Again, British necessity wipes its hands upon the napkin of a dirty cause. Again, a waste of our compassion. As with Spain, the guerrilla wrestles with the Superman. I who am poisoned with the blood of both, where shall I turn, divided to the vein? I who have cursed the drunken officer of British rule, how choose between this Africa and the English tongue I love? Betray them both, or give back what they give? How can I face such slaughter and be cool? How can I turn from Africa and live?
Poetic devices evident in this poem are as follows. 1. Alliteration. The example of alliteration is seen in the lines, Cornell of Carrion cries. Secondly, we have allusion. And that allusion is, the example here is expendable as Jews, and this is in reference to the Jewish Holocaust. Then, of course, we have anaphora, right? Anaphora is the repetition of the first lines. Here we have, oh can I, in the latter part of the poem, the last stanza, last 3 lines of the poem, actually. And then we have metaphor, and it is, I am poisoned with the blood of both. And then we have the simile, and kit to you, quick as flies, expendable as Jews are the examples here. And you have the pun, and the pun was the play on word of brutish, right? British, right? And then you have repetition and beast, right? Beast was repeated and as well as again. And you had a rhetorical question: how can I turn from Africa and live? And there were several rhetorical questions, so you can cite example of these in the comment section below. And if you have any other device that you see in the poem that was not mentioned here, please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you. The themes explored in this poem are as follows: 1. Colonization. 2. Identity. 3. Displacement. 4. African pride. Do you agree with these? And if you know of any other theme that may have been explored in this poem, share your thoughts in the comments section below.